What if everything we've been told about electric cars being the future is actually a lie? Not because they won't dominate the road someday, but because they already did over a century ago. The electric vehicle isn't some shiny new invention born from Silicon Valley genius. It's a comeback story, a resurrection of a technology we abandoned, ghosted, and left for dead. We didn't just forget about electric cars, we actively chose to break up with them, and that decision shaped the entire trajectory of the modern world. The real question isn't why we're going electric now, it's why we ever stopped in the first place. Picture this, it's 1900, and buying a car is like selecting a character in a video game. You've got three options on the screen, each with a fatal flaw that could ruin your entire experience. Option 1 is Steam, the high-maintenance diva of the bunch. It's powerful, sure, but driving one is like lugging around a boiling tea kettle that demands 30 minutes of prep time just to leave your driveway. Option 2 is Gasoline, the dangerous bad boy. It's loud, smelly, and vibrates like a jackhammer. And starting it requires a hand crank that could literally snap your wrist if you're not careful. It's the CrossFit of transportation, exhausting, risky, and borderline punishing. Then there's option 3, electric. Clean, quiet, and effortless. No explosions, no boiling water, no broken bones. It just worked. The early electric car was the iPhone of 1900. A piece of technology so far ahead of its time that it made everything else feel primitive. It offered sophistication, tranquility, and a user experience that was unmatched, even if the battery life wasn't perfect yet. So if electric was clearly the superior choice, why did we spend the next 100 years married to gasoline? The answer is a wild mix of irony, economics, and a technological plot twist that nobody saw coming, and understanding it will completely change the way we see the road ahead. Imagine stepping into a carriage that feels less like a vehicle and more like a high-end sitting room. In the early 1900s, the electric car wasn't a sterile gadget, it was a rolling sanctuary of refinement. Manufacturers didn't just build seats. They crafted parlors with velvet upholstery, expensive curtains, and even crystal vases for fresh flowers. It was an experience of pure elegance, designed to make the chaotic, dirty streets of the city feel miles away while the driver glided along in silence. This design wasn't an accident. It was a direct appeal to a specific kind of sophistication, particularly for women of status. While gas cars required a hand crank that could break a wrist, a literal workout before the drive even started, the electric vehicle offered effortless freedom. It gave the driver a newfound sense of autonomy without the grease, noise, or danger of an internal combustion engine. It was the iPhone of its day. One simply got in, turned a lever, and moved, no brute strength required. Back then, nobody cared about 0 to 60 times or aggressive aerodynamics. The ultimate flex was tranquility. Owning an electric car signaled that the owner had risen above the noise and smoke of the industrial age, placing them at the very peak of social prestige. It was the preferred choice of royalty and tycoons alike, a symbol of a clean, bright future that seemed inevitable. But just as this electric dream was reaching its zenith, a shadow was forming on the horizon, a noisy, cheap disruption that was about to change the rules of the game entirely. It is one of history's cruelest jokes that the electric car was actually eliminated by its own technology. In 1912, a brilliant engineer named Charles Kettering invented the electric self-starter, a small device that eliminated the dangerous hand crank forever. Suddenly, the gas car lost its biggest flaw, the risk of a broken arm, and stole the effortless nature of the electric vehicle. It was a moment of disruption that leveled the playing field overnight, turning the noisy, smelly beast into something anyone could tame with the push of a button. While the electric car sat comfortably in its sophistication, Henry Ford was busy democratizing travel for the masses. He wasn't interested in refinement for the few, he wanted mobility for the many, and the Model T was his weapon of choice. By perfecting the assembly line, he drove the price of a gas car down to a fraction of an electric one, making the choice purely economic. It was no longer about prestige or elegance, it was about raw, undeniable accessibility that the average family could finally afford. Then came the discovery of vast oil reserves, turning gasoline into the fast food of the energy world. Just like a cheap burger, it wasn't the cleanest or healthiest option, but it was incredibly convenient, addictive, and available on every corner. We collectively got hooked on this cheap energy, trading the tranquility of electric power for the instant gratification of combustion. We binged on this new fuel source for decades, ignoring the long-term costs, until a wake-up call began to ring in the distance, signaling that the party couldn't last forever. For nearly 60 years, society treated the electric car like an old flame we ghosted without a second thought. We fell head over heels for the roar and rumble of the internal combustion engine, completely intoxicated by its raw power and infinite range. It was a long, passionate affair with gasoline that left the elegance of the electric motor gathering dust in the corners of history. We didn't just move on. We forgot the tranquility it once offered, trading it for the thrill of the open road and the convenience of the pump, leaving the electric dream in a deep, coma-like slumber. If you grew up in the 90s, you likely remember the electric car not as a symbol of sophistication, but as a punchline. Vehicles like the wedge-shaped city car or the experimental GM EV1 weren't objects of desire. They were glorified golf carts, slow, boxy, and frankly, a bit embarrassing. The refinement of the early 1900s had vanished, replaced by plastic shells that screamed compromise rather than prestige. It was the dark ages of automotive design, where driving electric meant sacrificing style, speed, and dignity for the sake of efficiency. This era cemented a deep-seated stigma that proved harder to kill than the technology itself. The electric car became synonymous with weakness, a toy for the eccentric rather than a tool for the masses. It wasn't just about engineering. It was a battle for the soul of the driver, who now equated noise with power and silence with frailty. But just as the electric dream seemed destined for the scrapyard of bad ideas, a new player was quietly watching from the sidelines, ready to challenge every assumption we held dear with a radical new vision. The electric car didn't return because we suddenly learned how to build better cars. It returned because we learned how to build better electronics. The refinement of the modern electric vehicle is a direct descendant of the camcorder and the laptop, not the internal combustion engine. It was the lithium-ion battery that finally bridged the gap, transforming the electric car from a heavy, sluggish beast into a sleek, powerful machine. This was the missing link that allowed us to reclaim the elegance of silent driving without sacrificing the range and speed we had grown addicted to. Think of the old lead-acid batteries like the brick phones of the 80s, clunky, heavy, and barely functional for anything beyond a short call. The lithium-ion battery, on the other hand, is the smartphone of energy storage. Compact, powerful, and capable of holding a charge that lasts for days. This shift wasn't just an upgrade, it was a complete disruption of the status quo, allowing us to pack immense power into a fraction of the space. Suddenly, the electric car wasn't just a viable alternative, it was a superior technology, offering a level of sophistication that gas engines simply couldn't match. This technological leap didn't just improve performance, it fundamentally changed the way we interact with our vehicles. We stopped seeing cars as mechanical beasts to be tamed and started seeing them as extensions of our digital lives. The electric car became a laptop on wheels, a device that could be updated, customized, and improved over the air. It was a return to the tranquility of the early 1900s, but with a modern twist that promised not just a cleaner future, but a smarter, more connected one, setting the stage for a new kind of automotive revolution. The electric car didn't just need a better battery. It needed a complete rebranding, a moment of pure sophistication that would make it desirable again. In 2008, Tesla didn't invent the electric vehicle any more than Apple invented the smartphone, but they understood the power of elegance. The Roadster wasn't just a car. It was a statement that electric could be faster, sexier, and more thrilling than anything with a gas tank. It shattered the golf cart stigma overnight, proving that refinement and raw speed could coexist in a package that turned heads for all the right reasons. This shift wasn't about saving the planet. It was about saving the driver from boredom. Tesla realized that to beat the internal combustion engine, you couldn't just be green. That was a recipe for failure. You had to offer a superior experience, a level of tranquility and instant torque that made gas cars feel like relics of a bygone era. It was a masterclass in disruption, forcing the entire industry to rethink what a car could be. And suddenly, the electric future wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. But let's not kid ourselves. Switching to electric isn't a magic cure for all our environmental woes. It's a bit like swapping soda for fruit juice. You're still getting the sugar, just in a different form. Charging an electric car with coal-fired power is simply moving the pollution from the tailpipe to the smokestack, a band-aid solution rather than a true fix. Yet despite this uncomfortable truth, it represents a necessary step forward. A bridge to a cleaner grid where the autonomy of the electric vehicle can finally live up to its full potential. So, where does this leave us? We've taken a 100-year detour, a long, winding road through the noisy, smoky age of gasoline, only to find ourselves right back where we started, staring at the quiet elegance of the electric motor. But this time, it's different. We aren't just choosing a car, we're choosing a lifestyle, a mindset of sophistication and autonomy that refuses to settle for the status quo. The question isn't whether electric cars will take over, they already have in spirit, but whether you are ready to embrace the shift. Are you still clinging to the fast food convenience of the past? Or are you ready to upgrade to the smartphone of the future? Think about the choices you make every day. Are you driving your life with the brute force of a combustion engine, constantly fighting friction and noise? Or are you moving with the tranquility and purpose of an electric current? The technology has changed, but the principle remains the same. True power is silent, efficient, and undeniably modern. Don't just watch the revolution happen from the sidelines. Be a part of it. Challenge your assumptions, rethink your habits, and ask yourself, what other obsolete ideas are waiting to be rediscovered and transformed into something extraordinary? If this journey through history has sparked a new perspective in you, don't let the conversation end here. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a beat. We're just scratching the surface of what's possible, and trust me, you won't want to be left in the dust of the past. Join us as we continue to explore the future, one electrifying story at a time.